right. Hello, hello, hello. Hi, hey, hello again. Here we go again. This is Power Girl, and we have a Power Girl pop up today. I'm very, very excited to bring to you Wisconsin Annie. Finally, we've been talking so much about her, and there's been so much mention of her on Freedom Fridays, and we've been trying to get her on the panel. And we've been giving updates about her situation. I'm just so very happy to have her here. And she has an announcement. She's filed some paperwork, and we're going to support her by just letting the public know what's going on with her so we can get the word out. So welcome, Annie. Say hi to our freedom family out there in the ether world.
Hey, thank you so much, Power Girl, for having me on. I appreciate the time and the ability and opportunity to finally get my voice out there and be heard again. Thank you.
Absolutely. I am just absolutely so honored to bring the freedom fighters to the freedom family, to people out there that are looking for the true hero stories, the boots on the ground that are actually fighting for freedom in a very real and visceral way, just like you and Brock are doing, and especially you, Annie. Annie's on the lam right now. She's running from her government, who is attacking her, literally physically attacking her. There's been damage to her vehicle, and there's a lot of bad things happening to her because of the fact that she is standing up to provide a haven for trafficking victims, and she's also a sovereign. So she has basically joined the state's assembly, and she's doing work on that front as well. So I am going to, without any further ado, give Annie an opportunity to introduce this maladministration document that she has filed. And I'm going to read a couple paragraphs from it just to introduce it, to give you an idea of what it contains. And then I'm going to bring it back to Annie so that she can kind of close out for us, and just to let you know what she's going through, and so that we can report, and maybe Annie, at the end, you can tell us how we can support you moving forward. So go ahead and introduce what this
Yes.
what is this?
All right. So if people have been following the continuing saga drama, you know, left wing media propaganda arm of the Nazi Party in Wisconsin, for Annie's Campground and Ann Retzloff. I'm an oath officer. I'm a captain in the military. I'm not active duty per se right now, but I took my oath back in December 1992 to uphold and support the Constitution of the United States and the Wisconsin Constitution, and to bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same, to protect and defend my country, my Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And right now, we have a bunch of domestic terrorists running around. Even though the media is trying to paint me, and the DA Greg Parker of Shawnee County, they're trying to paint me as the domestic terrorist, but I am not. They are. Um, this all kind of started a while back, but the most recent was in May of 2021 when I got a call. One of my young female employees was in a very bad situation. She was being sex trafficked at some place in Menominee County. She called, she needed a ride, and I went to go get her and called 911 for help. My office did, and I did too. And come to find out, the K9 guys had made it there before I did, which is good. They're ready for it. I'm not. Um, but I turned around when they said that she had been, she was safe and she was headed back to Annie's campground where she lives. So I said, okay, thank you. I appreciate your help. And if she's headed back to the campground, so am I. It's Saturday night and we're busy and I need to get back. So I turned around and I was headed home, and they ended up bringing the law enforcement, and they stopped me forcefully with no due process, no probable cause, and I was arrested. So we have these sworn oath officers and the DA and the judges who are supposed to be, providing public safety to not just Shawnee County, Menominee County, but, our state and our nation. So it's been a very confusing and also informative, fact finding mission for me to find out why, instead of them SWAT teaming the house that she escaped from, why didn't they do that and maybe rescue the other 6 or 7 people that were in the house, and why did they come after me? when I was headed home. So what I've discovered is that our courts, they don't operate under the Constitution. They're operating under admiralty law, maritime law, laws of the sea, which is completely opposite of the law of the land. They don't care about God and God's word and God's laws because their God is Satan. And that is why it seems to be that there's no justice in our country right now, because there's not. Our Constitution was suspended when we had President Abe Lincoln in office, which that's a whole nother story. But our Constitution has been suspended since 1861. So, what I've given to Power Girl to hopefully share with everybody is a link to a Word document. It's a notice to cease and desist malversation, malfeasance, and maladministration. This went to all 27 members of the Shawano County Board. I would encourage everyone listening who wants to do something and you don't know what to do. It's all confusing. It's all chaos. This is where you can start. The pen is more, it's a very dangerous weapon, and use the pen over the sword. You know, we want to settle all this peacefully. We don't want to hurt any other human beings. We want to settle this peacefully, and there are peaceful ways to do this. And so if you take my document and make it so that it is yours, whatever county you live in, you can go to DNB, Dun and Brooks, Dun and Bradstreet, I'm sorry, Dun and Brooks, Dun and Bradstreet.com, and you can put in county of, whatever county you live in, or state of Wisconsin, state of Montana, state of Texas, wherever you live. That will pull up all of the DUNS numbers, which means it is a corporation. So what I discovered as I'm trying to do, counterclaims and put affidavits into these court cases that I have, I've learned a lot. And I learned that our county, which is only 42,000 people in Shawano County, Wisconsin, we have over 40 sub corporations under the parent corporation of County of Shawano, to include the Shawano County Sheriff's Department, the Shawano County Jail, the Shawano County Judicial Branch, each of the circuit courts in Shawano Menominee County, the Land Records Office, the Safe Haven where domestic violence victims go. They're all operating for-profit corporations, which means they have financial incentive to charge and arrest anybody they want, charge you with whatever so-called crimes or whatever they want to make up, like they did with me. They made up these charges, and throw you in jail because they get more money from that too, because they're tapping into what is called a SESTQV trust and other trusts. There's actually several hundred trusts that we are either co-beneficiaries or it's our trust totally. So we have been robbed blind from cradle to grave, literally. So I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but if you please take the time to read this document that I sent to all 27 members of the Shawano County Board. They have, by operation of law, they have 21 days to rebut in writing what they're going to do after me, as one of we the people, sent them this notice. And you can read through it and see what I've asked them to do. I want them to get rid of all the state employees, corporation employees, and all the federal corporation employees, which would include the DA, the judges. These people don't work for our county; they work for the state of Wisconsin. So they're causing so much damage and harm to our people that live in Shawano County. They're ripping families apart. They're taking children away from their parents. They're separating communities. They're causing distress among communities. And I could go on and on. The drug war. Well, that's all created too. When our CIA and our DEA and Homeland Security, they're the ones that are actually giving the drugs to the drug dealers, and they're bringing the drugs up into every neighborhood that we have across our country. Well, whose fault is all this stuff? So what this document is doing is putting them on notice and letting them know that I know that they're a corporation and they are not a government anymore. Once a county or a township, down to my local level, town of Seneca is where Annie's Campground is located, my home, my business, my livelihood, where my children were raised. That's all been taken away from me unlawfully. And I am addressing all of those things, but I've learned a lot since all of this has happened to me. So God has kind of put me out there to feel all of this out and to learn and to self-educate so that I can do what I am supposed to do. So this is putting all these 27 people that swore the same oath as I did to uphold and support the Constitution. Government's only job is to protect and defend our inherent, unalienable, God-given rights. That's their only job. And they have failed miserably. So when you're talking about malversation and malfeasance and maladministration, I'm just telling them that they're not doing their job. And maladministration is pretty serious. That is a criminal felony, and there's jail time affiliated with that. So if they do not respond the way that they need to be responding as responsible officials sitting in positions of public trust, well, then they're going to see a claim, a lien is going to be put against them, their dirt, stick, and buildings, and the corporations. So, and I know that Power Girl, we're going to meet again and do a longer podcast here, but I just wanted folks to know that you can do this. You can take action. The pen is mightier than the sword. So educate yourselves. Pick up a law book on contract law. The Bible is a contract. God gave us dominion over land, air, and water. So we have given up all of our rights over time, just a little bit, a little bit, a little bit. We have no rights anymore. None of us do. Our Constitution has been suspended since 1861. So what I also discovered and what I am now working on is helping Wisconsin reassemble. As per our First Amendment rights, we have the right to assemble. So if two people are having a meeting and we are assembling in front of God or Yeshua or whatever, great creator, great spirit, it doesn't matter, then you have assembled under God. So Brock Maddox and I did that last Tuesday. We had our first teleconference. You'll see a link with Christina's broadcast that you can go to wisconsindejour.org, and you can go to that website. And every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m., there's a call-in number. Anybody who is a sovereign man and woman, you want to restore our state, and you want to reel in our government that is completely out of control. We created them, so we control them. So we need to do that. We the people, government of people, GOP. That is the real meaning of GOP. It's not good old party. It's government of people. All right. We need to come off the couch. We need to dust off our bruises and our owies and our skid marks, and we need to stand up for ourselves and our children. And we do this by peacefully assembling. And I'm building the website now. It's just going to have basic information on it. It'll be wisconsindejour.org. De jour means of the people. Government of the people, by the people, for the people. And once we can assemble and get a group of like 25 to 27 people, like-minded people like Christina and I together in the state, in Wisconsin, then we can settle our state. And we can come up with a list of grievances that we can protest to the government. like this notice of maladministration to Shawano County government. I'm telling them what I want them to do. I'm busting them out. We can all bust them out. They work for us. We're paying their wages. What the hell are they doing for us?
Well, I'll tell you what, Annie, everything that you are saying is absolutely reflective of what's happening here in Humboldt County, California. We have a very similar criminal local governance here that basically does whatever they want, even to the point of sexually grooming children in public on public grounds and bragging about the fact that they're doing it with public funds. So that is how just not only malignant, but how verbose they are, how in our faces they are. And the reason why is because they're not getting very much pushback here in California. So it is very, very exciting for me to watch what you freedom fighters in central Wisconsin are doing. Are you in central Wisconsin, Annie? Just to
I'm
be
in
clear.
I'm in northeastern Wisconsin, but Brock Maddox and I, we have very, very similar stories. What I dealt with since May, June of 2020 to now with the sex trafficking, drug trafficking, human trafficking, child trafficking, adrenochrome, human meat production, all the sick stuff that you don't want to believe exists. Well, guess what? It does. It's gross. Brock is dealing with the same things, the tunnels and the underground cities and stuff in Stevens Point, Plover area in west central Wisconsin. It is all over our state. It is in every rural community. We cannot run from this. We cannot hide from it. We stop them in their tracks by assembling at our local community area, assemble our state so that we can get back under God's laws, because this evil has got to stop. It's not going to go away. You know, if people continue to put their head in their sand and pretend, oh, it's not happening in my backyard, well, guess what? It is in your backyard.
It is. It absolutely is.
If you have a McDonald's, if you have a Masonic Lodge, if you have anything Zion, or if you have a Walmart, and God help you if you have all of them in one community, you have got satanic ritual abuse, you have cannibalism, you have child sex, human drug trafficking, and you have a lot of bad stuff that needs to go away. We,
I
the
can
people, can do that. So the military is waiting for 38 of the 50 states to assemble and settle. It's very easy what we need to do. You can get more information by going to wisconsindujour.org. There's going to be 3 people answering the email. It'll be info@wisconsindujour.org. The other states that have also assembled are Alaska, Georgia, Kentucky, Michigan, Minnesota, Missouri, Montana, Tennessee, New York, and North Dakota, and about 20 other states, which are countries, which are nations. About 20 other states are doing what Wisconsin is doing right now. We're kind of stumbling and bumbling, and we're feeling things out. We're gathering our sovereign men and women who love God, love our family, love our country, and we are pulling it together so that we can prove to God that we can self-educate and we can self-govern again, like we were intended to do in the beginning. We have to take our sovereignty back. We have to take our rights back, and we need to kick these infiltrators out.
yes.
Some of them are going to get arrested. As soon as we hit that 38 of 50, that's the green light for the military to go and do the final arrest. So if you're tired of waiting, okay, we save ourselves. There's nobody else coming to save
Yes.
us. We save ourselves, and we do that by putting pen to paper, and we open up a book and we start reading and we educate ourselves. And if you want some of the original documents that started our foundation, our country, then you can go to national-assembly.net. And it's not Anna von Reitz. It doesn't mean that all those people are bad, but Anna von Reitz signed a blood oath. She's an agent of the Vatican. The Vatican is the number one sex, child trafficking, blood drinking, sick sons of bitches. So if you followed that light, it's okay. You can correct your own errors, but there's false prophets. Use caution and you got to educate yourselves. I've been looking for the solution for a long time and I found it. So Wisconsin is starting to stand up. So every Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m., you can call in. I'll get the telephone number linked to Power Girl Productions so that you have it. We are trying to stay in the private and stay out of the public, but I do think it's very important to get the word out initially where people can go, because there's a lot of people kind of aiming, they're wandering aimlessly right now and they're looking for that answer. And you got to do your own research. I don't know everything about everything. I wish I did, but if you want to go what I feel is in the right direction, please, join in on these teleconferences so we can figure out what we need to do in our state. We got to gather our original documents and the treaties. I am looking also for tribal folks. We have 12 tribes in the state of Wisconsin. We need to figure all this stuff out. And if we come together as a people and we can talk as informed adults, we can figure all this out on our own so that it is fair for everybody and it's a win-win situation. And we do not want bloodletting and a revolution. We do not want that. We want to move on and get on with our lives, get our lives back, and free ourselves from these chains that bind us, get us out of debt slavery. So we have a lot of work to do, but there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Just follow the light. The light is bringing in so much good energy, and we're raising our vibration, we're raising our frequency. If something doesn't feel right in your gut or people are bringing you down, you need to cut those strings and walk away. Let them figure it out on their own. And you need to find like minded people that are elevating higher or, maybe vibrating higher than you are so that you can get into that higher frequency.
Annie, that's really wise advice. My grandmother gave me advice when I was a young girl about picking friends. And she said, Christina, I just pick friends that are at that higher level, that have a quality that I want to emulate, that I want to see in my own life. And being around that person makes me a better person. And it was some of the wisest advice I've ever had. I'm very blessed to have a beautiful bevy of wonderful women friends and men friends. And now that it's extending out to the freedom fighters of central Wisconsin, I was just watching an old Power Girl podcast from when I very first started, before I met Jake and Brock and you and the freedom fighters of central Wisconsin and Harry Waite and the Rippin' Rabbit and all these amazing people. I was so sad. I was really, really low. And so, if there are people out there that are feeling really desperate, that are feeling really hopeless, we're here to tell you this is what Power Girl Productions is all about. It's not just bringing the freedom fighters stories. The reason why I focus on these freedom fighters is, one, because they are the solution, the boots on the ground who are actually out there facing these evils, are these principalities, as the Bible calls them, are not only example for what we should be doing, but also there are heroes that that they're. I hope to inspire you with these stories, because truly, Annie and Brock and all of these people cannot do it. Yvette and AJ and all of these people who are out there fighting so hard. Harry Waite cannot do it without us. So it really takes us. That's why I always put the us as a big US, because we need to bring back the American spirit. As Brock says, we need to keep the fight for freedom alive. And I'm just so grateful for you taking this time out. I want to read really quickly from your document. I am going to link it in to the description of the video. So if you wanted to take a closer look at it, and again, some of the things that Annie has said, they sound really far out there, but I'm telling you right now, this is exactly what we're experiencing here in Humboldt County. And I have been fighting in a very real and visceral way as well. And I can tell you that is the evil that we are dealing with. And all of the things that she said are unfortunately true. And it's all provable facts. So, it's time to face the reality of, we have come to a place where we are now in a war of good versus evil. And believe it or not, it is time to pick a side. because there really is no middle of the road on this one. We really do need to stand on the side of good. We need to stand up for the children. Aside from the evil that just plagues the government of this world, not just the country but the world. There's just the atrocities that have happened over the last 3 years of so many loved ones that have been lost to this incredibly unbelievable response that we've been dealing with over the last 3 years, which clearly has nothing to do with health and absolutely has everything to do with control. And I always say that if you have been able to get through the last 3 years without having it touch you, well, then you can consider yourself blessed, because the people that I hang out with have lost everything over the last 3 years just for standing for what is right. And so that should tell you how upside down we really are. And so I'm just really grateful for what Annie is doing. And this is a perfect example of how we need to be talking to these criminals. So, I'm going to skip ahead to the particulars. She addresses, like she said, she addresses all of the principles that she's trying to address here in this government. And then it goes on to say, it has come to our attention that our public servants are using their public offices to conduct unlawful and invalid banking transactions in our county. And I can tell you the same is happening in Humboldt County. Please take notice that we, the people, are the creators of all government in our nation. I'm going to say that again. Please take notice that we, the people, are the creators of all government in our nation, both state and federal. Government is only instituted for the protection, security, and benefit of the people, and not to usurp the rights of the people, like they have been doing so blatantly, obviously, over the last 3 years. Article 11, Section 1. Corporations without banking powers or privileges may be formed under general laws, but shall not be created by special act. As the people, it is our inherent right to reform, alter, and abolish any government. I would say it's not just our right, it's our responsibility when it fails its purpose of ensuring and protecting our rights. Wisconsin Constitution 1848 Declaration of Rights, Article 1, all people are born equally free and independent and have certain inherent rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. To secure these rights, governments are instituted. That is their purpose, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed and from no one else. Maximum, not from lobbyists, not from special interests, but from the people, from the consent of the governed. How do they get that? They're supposed to be getting that through the voting system, which is a whole nother subject we can't even talk about on YouTube. Maxim of Law 11's one lawfully commanding must be obeyed. This is the maxim of law that Jake is always talking about. Please take notice the people have a declared right to instruct all public servants and trustees to a frequent reoccurrence of fundamental principles of law. In other words, if they don't listen to you the first time, they need to be reminded of it frequently. So that was just a taste of what this document has, a 5-page document that I'm going to attach to the description. Annie, do you have anything in closing to say?
Yes. Okay, we have a lot of negativity around us. We have a lot of negative people. There's a lot of confusion. There's a lot of chaos. There's a lot of evil. Okay, we can command that evil to leave ourselves, our bodies, our children, our family, our home, our community, our state, our nation, our earth. We can command it to leave. We don't want it here. It can leave. And what I tried to do to become one with God, with source energy, great creator, great spirit, is I breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth 6 times or whatever it takes until you can feel your own heartbeat and hear your own breathing. And that is your connection, that heartbeat. It meets the beat of Mother Earth. And once you get to that state of being, you can visualize a violet flame. Violet flame, purple, is the highest to source energy. It's very spiritual. It's our highest chakra. So imagine a violet flame that is swirling and expanding into the experience, and when it is complete, it will dissipate the evil and the negativity, whether it's somebody in your family, um, something that you heard on the news, something that is not sitting well, that doesn't resonate well with you. Just imagine a violet flame, and that flame, it's basically, it's eradicating the negativity, the evil, and it's dissipating it. It's going away, and you can will this. So learn how to think positively and speak positively. It if you can imagine it to happen, whether it's positive or negative, then you can create it with your thoughts. Our mind is a very, very powerful tool. We have to learn how to use it for us and not against us. So think positively, and the negative things that are out there, imagine a violet flame, violet, purple, and it's swirling and swirling and swirling, and when that flame is done, it will dissipate that negative energy, and you will raise that area into a higher frequency, so that Mother Earth, our planet, so that we can come out of this slavery that we are in right now. Our entire planet is enslaved, but the bonds, the chains are breaking, and it's people that can think positively to elevate us that we will pull our earth out. And we have a lot of help too. I called in all my ancestors, all my good angels, all my spirit guides. I got lottie dottie everybody is in this final battle between good and evil. So, and everybody can do this. Call in your good angels. We live in a dual
Yes.
world, so call in the good angels, your good ancestors.
Yes. I personally, Annie, I call on the Holy Spirit. That's who I call on. And if I want to get rid of the boogies, I just call on the name of Jesus. I'll tell you right now. You don't even have to imagine anything. He'll just take care of all of it. You just say his name and they will flee. They will flee. So that
That
has
is,
been my
yes.
experience.
Yes, that is correct.
They
That
don't
is
like that
correct.
name. They
Yes.
don't like that name. So yeah, but I look. This is again not a religious thing. I was just saying because I will correct anybody who calls me religious. This is about a relationship. You know, the Holy Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. They are on our sides and they are beyond powerful. We can't even imagine the amount of power. One God told me the other day in prayer, in supplication, he said to me, he actually showed me in the clouds. He said, just one drop, Christina, just one drop can of me, just one drop of me can wash away everything that has tainted Humboldt County. That's what he told me, and I believe him with all my heart. And I believe it because I see it with my own eyes in these freedom fighters that I am getting to know, and these powerful warriors who are putting everything on the line to fight this silent war that so many of us, whether we've been willing to acknowledge it on an individual level or not, so many of us are choosing to look away, even if we have kind of tried to, swallow the red pill, but maybe decided we were going to go back to sleep because it was just too much to bear. I'm telling you, the reason why we're bringing these stories to you is because this is how we win this war, through stories like Annie's, through stories like Brock's, with philosophies and ideas like Jake's. We need to start thinking outside of the box. We need to realize, first and foremost, the number one step is to figure out that we have been lied to. That is the number one thing. And a lot of people are still working that out. They're still dealing with Stockholm syndrome or the cognitive dissonance that goes along with having to face the fact that your whole life is a complete and utter lie. I have been in those shoes. I understand the mental split that comes down. I'm telling you, all due respect, Annie, when you're dealing with full on trauma, and I'm talking about the kind of trauma that these victims of SRA are faced with, these adults who have had to heal from these horrific wounds that they've been put through. Positive thinking can only take you so far. There's only one person that can save you from a darkness that dark, and that is the Holy Savior. That is Jesus Christ, who bled for us and died for us on the cross so that we could have the freedom that we're talking about. Because without him, nobody is free. We're locked to this old covenant. We're locked to this old world, the curse that that has been put on us. And so it is a curse. It is a spell. You're right. It was an attack. I said all along, it was attack on our corona. In Spanish is crown. It was an attack on our crown. They stole our crown from us. and we need to get it back. And so if creative visualization works for you, that's I'm not trust me, I'm not belittling that. But I can tell you that if you want to get, I've had to deal with some serious demons. The kind of demons that you don't want to know their names because you don't want to know how far up the ladder they are. And that when you get that dark and that supernatural, there's only one name that gets you out of that. And so I would just remember that name. It will get you through so much because that's where I started and where I've ended up now. Just I could I mean when I was so dark and so lost that I could barely utter his name, but when I finally brought myself to do it, now what, 6 years later, I'm where I am today. And I'm actually, for the first time since he awakened me with the dream that started this whole thing for me, uh, I've seen so much. I finally, for the first time in a really long time, I have hope, and it comes from these freedom fighters that are actually out there putting their lives on the line. So I just want to thank you so much, Annie. I'm so glad we finally got together. I'm so glad that this finally can, and we will. You're absolutely right. We're gonna bring more. Did you want to say anything else about the document? I'm gonna connect the document to the description. But before we close this off, because we were going to do originally 15 minutes, but it got a little longer than that. And I'm glad it did because you've given us so much great information to chew on. And if a lot of this stuff, guys, if some of this stuff is just way too foreign for you and Annie's speaking Greek, I'm speaking Greek, none of this makes any sense to you. That was how I felt when I went to gas service trade school. And I'm telling you, the best thing I could ever do is just let it wash over me. The stuff that I don't understand, don't try to understand it right now. Just keep coming back. Just keep coming back. Keep listening to these amazing, powerful stories. Keep listening to these incredible ideas. These are very clear thinking people. And even though it might sound foreign, the things that they're saying, I'm telling you right now, if you did a little bit of research, you would find out it's getting so far down the scale of the Great Awakening that it's so in your face. It's right there. So
Yep.
I would really encourage you to just keep coming back.
Right. And nothing is what it seems. We have been lied to about everything. Everything. I thought I was born on
Everything.
Easter. Okay? I'm an Easter baby. But guess what? The Vatican has been controlling time. Time is an illusion. And that's a whole nother topic, but
Oh yeah, the Gregorian count. Yeah.
I wasn't born on the vernal equinox, which is really Easter. The first year, or the first day of the year, is April 1st, which should be aligned with the vernal equinox, the spring equinox. So our
Hmm.
calendar is incorrect. The
Yeah,
days of the
nothing.
week.
Yeah.
I mean, they have us. We're getting it all back, okay? But the easiest way that I tell people to start dealing with this is erase everything that you thought, everything that you think is true, everything that you learned in school. Just erase everything. Erase your hard drive, okay? We are rebooting ourselves, and we're going back
Hmm.
to our roots.
That's it.
To
Good.
our
Yeah, we've got a hey, we got a virus. You're absolutely. This is a mind virus. This was a
Yes,
mind virus all along. It was never a physical
right.
virus. It was always a mind virus.
Well, they've been messing with us. They've contaminated our minds with all this pollution on TV and the radio and everything else, all this crap that we learn in school. They've
Yep.
been poisoning our food, our air, and our water. Okay,
Yep.
so realize that nothing is what it seems. Everything is a lie. We've been lied to about everything, but we can save ourselves. Okay, we can self-extract, and we
Yeah,
we
and
do
the
that
good
by
news is we're all in that together. I mean, none of us
right.
are
We
immune from
are
that. We were all lied to. We were all ignorant at one time. We were all asleep at one time. So again, you want to find a false prophet. The clearest way to a false prophet is somebody who is scoffing those who are still asleep. I'm telling
right.
you, there's nothing to scoff at. We were all asleep. There's no shame in that game. But it
Right.
is time to wake up. It is
Yes.
time to wake up, and the time has come, and that's what Power Girl Productions is all about, is trying to make you realize that freedom fighting is cool, guys. All the cool kids are doing it, man. I mean, Gen X is showing up in such a huge way, And if you just stick around, if you just show up on Freedom Fridays or Supernatural Sundays or Wolfpack Wednesdays, whatever the day might be, or even on a pop-up like today where we're just talking to an incredible freedom fighter in the field, you're going to learn something every time, and you're going to get closer and closer to that mark. And that's all we're asking. Nobody's trying to reinvent the wheel. Nobody's trying to turn your whole world upside down. We just want you to keep coming back so that we can teach you what you don't know, what you need to know, because like Annie said before we hit record, we're running out of time, guys. It's this new world order, this mark of the beast, this beast system is going to take over in a very, very big way if we don't stand up and do what is right. And that is just simply to, under the laws of nature, under natural and common law, under God, take our sovereignty as men and women on the land. It's the only thing that makes sense at this point. The government is Rome is burning. Rome is burning, and it's going to burn to ashes. The snake was always supposed to eat itself. That's always been written into the code from day one. Your Bible will tell you that.
Right.
So anyway, I just want to say thank you so much, Annie. Do you have any last words before we click off and let you get to a warm space so you can warm up your toes? I hope they're not black by now.
Well, just continue to think positively, because
Yes.
the old guard, like you said, is dying. The snake is eating itself, and you watch TV, you watch mainstream media, the news. It's actually entertaining to me right now. I laugh when I read the headlines. It is hilarious. They are devouring themselves. Let them go.
Mm-hmm.
Why stop the enemy when they're destroying themselves? But in the meantime, people like you and I and Jake and Brock and other people, we are building our new world, our new earth,
Yes.
the way that we want it. We want clean
Yes.
water, clean air, clean food. We want clean television, clean movies, clean
Mm-hmm.
books. We want to know our true history. We want our DNA restored to what it is supposed to be, what God created us as. That's what we want.
Yes.
So we
And it's
can
all
bring this
possible.
in. Yeah, we bring this into fruition. And it's connecting consciousness. If enough of
Mm-hmm.
us are thinking about it, it will happen.
My one of my Kingdom Warriors, Stacy, had the most amazing dream, prophetic dream not too long ago. It was about a month ago. She said that she had a dream that God was weaving a web of life from all corners of the world. He was weaving a web of life. And I see that as the freedom fighters that are connecting the web of life that's connecting across, and that he was laying it across the web of deceit to mute the lies, to dissolve the deception, that we are the web of he is weaving the web of life through us. It was the most powerful dream. I can't wait to tell it on Supernatural Sunday. I probably have already told too much. That was a bit of a spoiler, guys, but this is, and it's so true to so many of the prophecies that I have heard over the last couple years. This idea of this was our inheritance all along. The Bible says, all these things that I do, you will do more, and you will do and more. So we were always meant to stand up and take our sovereignty. This is what we're supposed to do. That's why things are getting so crazy, because we're not doing it. And so I'm just so grateful for those people that are actually those trailblazers who are actually out there putting everything on the line to show us how it's done. And Annie has made it very, very simple today. She's given a lot of things that we can take back and digest, and we're going to bring Annie back. Thank you for hanging out with us. It's been a very, very inspiring time. I've learned so much. I've taken so many notes, and I was on the phone for with Annie for about an hour before we even hit record. So I've got some really great stuff. Yep, there she goes. So anyway, again, thank you, Annie. If you're watching this after the fact, for showing up and get your toes warm. And I'm just so grateful for everything that you guys are doing out there. We will continue to think positively. We will continue to raise the vibration. We will continue to cry out to the name of Jesus, because we are going to win this thing. God has already won this war, guys. We just need to step up and take our crown back. All right, guys, take care so much and love y'all. Goodbye.
I was 6 when it started, and for the first 3 years, I was used as what was called an expendable child. In the Belgian network, there was a group, particularly aristocrats, who killed children. So a few times I was in situations like that I just happened to not be killed. So in this network, you have to understand it's a murderous network. Expendable children, that means that they can be killed. That's to say, it was clear that their lives wasn't valued, so those children could be used for anything. That could mean they could be used for torture and killing. So it's very hard to talk about what happened to me during those first 3 years because it was very extreme. So I was in quite a few extreme situations. I was sometimes taken to bars and given to the men there, but other times I was taken to castles and then waiting with a handler until until the first group of people had left, and then at the late hour the younger children were brought in. Sometimes I was taken to somebody's house for the day. My mother would keep me out of school and then just drive me to somebody's house, and then whatever was necessary. I have remembered things about being in extreme situations with, where other children did die. So my mother was being paid for this. What would happen then with an expendable child is the parents get paid. Of course, there's no contract, nothing is in writing. It's all very vague. My mother's denial itself took care of a lot, but there was money exchanged, and her contact person was this countess. But let's say if I would have been killed and other children were, then a doctor who was part of the network would have been able to write a death certificate and bring up. So in 1972, I was traded by the boss of the network to an international player, somebody who was in the international network that the boss of the network wanted to do business with, wanted to be in their good favor, because this was someone who had global power. And this person apparently had this countess ask my mother who my father was, and also they drew blood. Anyway, they found out that I'm from one of the bloodlines, which is something that in this global network is very important. So this perpetrator then decided that he was going to get me trained, that's to say, mind control trained, which is torture based, and to make me an elite slave, and to even give me a platform on the world stage so I could be an elite slave to the most powerful men in the world. So elite slaves are trained, most of them are trained from a very young age, and they can be people who are actually famous, but are actually being used as slaves because it's all about the same kind of mafiosi style. I was being trained to spy, and also I was literally trained to make men fall in love with me at age 9. It was about a month long initially, but it was really a year long. The whole training was a year long, and meanwhile I was already being used. I was taken to Germany on weekends and spent it with someone who I realized later was a very big politician in Germany at the time. I mean, I was, not only did he really like me, but I was also spying on him, and I was reporting about his weakness then to who had become my owner, which was this international network. Basically, when I was going to Germany on the weekends with this, being driven there by handlers of the Belgian network and then dropped off in places, picked up by on the side of the road, actually on a quiet road, by this politician, and then I would just simply drive with him. And so because I had been trained, I knew how to not be, not call attention to myself. He would check in, and this was very similar each time. It was always very idyllic, beautiful places on the beautiful rivers in Germany, in some small hotel pension, and there's maybe 3 or 4 rooms, and so he would have the whole hotel to himself, but we would sleep in the same bed. And then of course it would be it was all about pleasing him, and for him, I know that there was a great joy, or maybe pleasure is the right word, in having these people, just fawn all over him and be so grateful and lucky that this very important person is visiting them and is gracing them with his presence. And they would say that, if anything, he would say that I'm his niece. But of course, my German, he actually taught me to speak German, this politician. Better. I didn't really speak it very well. So when we were alone, it had a lot to do about, but he was also just very happy. He seemed just very happy to be around a little girl that was there for him in this way that I was, just listening. I thought, I thought he was great, and he was a really good man. And that was my training, of course, as a slave, is to flatter him to the max so that he would feel really good about himself. And that's how he got to feel good about himself. And so he clearly enjoyed the physical closeness a lot, and the warmth, and what then appeared to be love for him, I think. So this one year was very peculiar, that I was actually being groomed then on a big scale. And my owner, if I can say that, obviously this person who wanted to own me as a slave had plans for me, and this was discussed even with other people in the network. So it was decided I was going to be a star in France. Everyone was treating me like a star. That's really all I can say. And I had somebody who was giving me facial massages, other massages, but nothing creepy about these massages. There was a photographer, nothing creepy about the photographs, even though I was naked. Everybody was just making me into what I was to become, which was a French singer. There was a singing coach there, actually, and I was, again, there was nothing I could do wrong. Everything was positive. So there was no correction. It wasn't really correction. Everything was, it's like kind of how we are taught now to treat our kids, to just focus on the positive. But I never experienced that before. And suddenly there's this voice coach, and he brings out the best out of my voice, the purity of the voice, and teaching me to sing certain songs, again through repetition, certain French songs, Edith Piaf, Jacques Brel. And I was singing these songs, and it was easy. The French came back very easily. Eventually, I was going to be inducted into the cult. And so being inducted into the cult eventually was sort of my graduation, I guess, or it was to be the beginning of my new life, let's say. And there's been a lot of talk during that year about what my life was going to be, how comfortable, the most beautiful apartments in Paris, the best house on the Côte d'Azur, the yacht, the respect, the platform. Everybody would think I was the best singer, actress in the world, and I would get all the magazine out. It was all prepared, and it was just that what I had to do to belong eventually was just too much. I rebelled and was kicked out. Basically, I was reprogrammed, and I was extremely humiliated and punished. And this was reprogramming to make sure I would never become successful. After I was put back in the Belgian network, the Belgians never really discovering what had actually happened to me, used me for their VIPs then. But a young gangster came into the network, and he had power in the Belgian network because he wasn't afraid to use a gun. But eventually, a year later, he ended up rescuing me. So now it's back to my mother driving me to the network. And once this gangster showed up, things changed a little bit because he would keep me longer and so forth than usual. And so also groomed me for 6 months, in fact, and started by protecting me and then ended up abusing me worse than anybody else. Such violence. And then, you know, that would have resulted in my being murdered. And then he had a change of heart. And then he made a deal with the boss of the network to get me out. The physical circumstances of this gangster's name is Patrick Hammers. And the politician who was in charge of the network is Paul van den Boeynants, who had a long career in politics in Belgium. And the gangster had also quite a fascinating career in crime. And the deal in 1974 that was made when this gangster was 22 years old, I think, or 23, was that he was going to work for the politician to get me out. He was going to become his whatever left-hand man. And what he did at age 11 is he gave me instructions for life, and they were extremely detailed. He told me never to become to never sleep with anyone for anything, never do it. That I should not become a drug addict, that I should never buy. He told me I should not become an alcoholic. I could have a little wine here and there, but I should never drink too much. No hard liquor, once a week for hard liquor, or some crazy rule like that. He told me that I should leave the country, that I should leave Belgium, that I have to go to Paris, London, New York. I have to settle in New York, and I should marry someone who is not an older man who made his own fortune, but someone my age who is from a wealthy family, preferably a family of New York bankers. This all came out of his mouth as he was basically driving me home the last time. And of course, it included to never speak about the network, never say anything to anyone, just never do it. And these life instructions, they settled very deeply inside myself, because he had done this one good act in his life. You know, he had done this thing that was selfless for me. And it was in very dramatic circumstances. And these directions became sort of my guidelines for life. That really got me through, that really helped me. He also gave me some to deal with my mother in the coming weeks, in the weeks that would follow, because he knew she would be angry that she couldn't take me to the network anymore. And he told me to try to leave that house as soon as I could. So once I was rescued from the network, I really was never trafficked again. I followed those guidelines that had been given to me very, very closely. So at age 16, I actually ended up in the red light district in Antwerp. And because of this direction, I never slept with anyone. I was able to reach high functioning levels again, and not just function well in society, but have more empathy and love for people, and really heal as a human being and as a soul. And I think it's important to look and uncover this darkness, however hard that is for each person, before we can actually create that change. And I think ultimately we are the ones that need to change.